It's currently 11:16 p.m. I worked at Wegmans today from 12:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. Though I recall getting up for today around 9 in the morning, and around 9:15 in the morning with my first cup of plain coffee, I had 4 mild cheddar cheese sticks and some capicola or hot ham that my dad got at the Wegmans I work at. The capicola was mildly spicy, and the capicola was enjoyable. I took my first 15-minute break around 4:30 p.m. or 4 hours after the start of my shift. I took my 30-minute lunch, roughly from 6:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. And for lunch, I had some sushi that my mom got at the Wegmans she goes to, the one by her place. And she also got me another intense vanilla milk. Which are enjoyable, though I prefer the regular brine dairy whole milks. As I feel those are healthier than the intense vanilla milks. At one point, I originally intended to take my 30-minute lunch from 7 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., but decided to do it a bit earlier since I would be closing the produce department today, with one other coworker, since we were both working until 9 p.m. today. I took my second and last 15-minute break around 8:30 p.m. I recall throughout my shift, when I wasn't assisting all the customers that got my attention to ask for assistance. We had a lot of customers today, especially during the hours of my shift before I took my first 15-minute break, to the point where occasionally they got in the way and I either had to go a different way with the card I used throughout today, to get merchandise from the produce holding area and restock it within the produce department. Either that or while pulling the banana runner after loading a total of 12 new banana boxes after the ones that were initially on the banana runner at the start of my shift ran out. Were all empty and used up. Typically, even during an 8-hour shift, I'll only have to do this once, and this was the case today. At times, customers would get in the way of what I was trying to restock initially, so I would have to restock something else that was on my cart at the time. At the very end of my shift, a customer, a male, approached me to ask if there were any more snow crab. And this resulted in my first time going in the fish cooler, which is actually within the produce holding area, as the produce holding area is actually part of a warehouse an employees-only warehouse that contains all of the merchandise that hasn't yet been stocked. Within the main part of the store, the part that's open to the public. The fish cooler did have a sort of... It did have more snow crab legs available, but they weren't packaged. They were just kind of on the shelf trays. Some kind of thing on wheels with a whole bunch of plastic levels to it. Something like that. I work in the produce department, and by that time, there was nobody within the seafood department or the floral department for that matter. And as a result, there were 2 points in the later hours of my shift where somebody approached me to ask if there was somebody working the floral department. And this was while there were still workers for the floral department, just not on the floor at the time, so I had to go to a co-worker that was at the dairy department or cheese department, and I went to her and ended up requesting both times that she call the floral department to send somebody down to assist the customer that approached me to ask and end up asking regarding something regarding the floral department. I recall seeing the customer that asked if we had more snow crab legs. And my dad grocery shopping pretty much right before I took my second and last 15-minute break. Technically, we did have more snow crab legs in that fish cooler, but again, they weren't packaged, so presumably they weren't ready to be sold. There is pricing for snow crab leg clusters at $10.99 a pound. But by the time that customer approached me, the seafood department had been closed. Throughout my shift, especially during the hours prior to me taking my first 15-minute break, there were so many customers that I would pretty often sometimes be approached by a customer asking for assistance while I was already helping a customer. And then generally I would try to do both at the same time. And this generally went fine for me. And the hours between me getting up for today and my mom picking me up from Dad's place to take me to work, at one point, Dad's friend arrived to do replace the glass of the other basement window. And he was still there. And when Mom arrived, and he ended up locking the house up. And as a result, during that time period, I recall having two full cups of plain coffee and a partial third cup, from my recollection, roughly from 9:15 in the morning to about noon at the latest. This is another Danish that my dad got from the salty bread. One of two he got today. He had the other one not too long ago. During that period of time, towards the later part of it, pretty much right before my mom came over, I did this bit of work on the Mughal polystyrene drawing project using this Sharpie marker. After using the reference images I'm found through a Final Fantasy article to determine the angle of the blade to make for it to connect in the way it does over onto these two endpoints I made previously. Most of the Buster Sword in this case is behind the Mughal, but I'm still going to do my best to depict it based off the rules I established for this project. Roughly 2.5 hours into my shift, I had some free samples by one of the free sample stands that were set up today. I noticed that sort of booth or stand is pretty much as soon as I went in to start my shift. I came into work about 20 minutes before I started my shift and noticed that stand slash booth, but didn't have that free sample of brie, another free sample of extra sharp goat cheddar, and some kind of Italian meat. Salami was what I thought of first, but it's not quite that. Probably closer to ham. But yeah, those free samples were all on the same stand slash booth. Had those about 2.5 hours into my shift, and for some reason, three whole pomegranates uncut were on that booth stand. But they weren't part of the free samples. Yeah, but the free samples were pretty delicious. I've noticed historically they usually consist of meats and cheeses, which is more than fine by me.